of the Economics and Management Students Association, that is, in other words, ECOMANSA, who is His Excellency President Ibrahim Asanya, who is here with us. He will also talk about the perspective from ECOMANSA. Of course, it is the school that is affected the most as far as this crisis is concerned. And we will also have the Secretary General, who will also talk about matters that have been taken in collaboration with the Students' Union. And finally, we will invite the Vice President of the Students' Union to talk about the steps and resolutions that have been reached, because a meeting has been held today by the University of the Gambia Students' Union with the Office of the Vice President and other stakeholders, including the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Defense, and the Minister of Interior, the Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, among other stakeholders. So without further ado, I would love to invite the President, His Excellency Mr. Nyaning Kamanjang, to just give a brief remarks or a brief statement with regard to the purpose of the press conference. Mr. Manjang.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers. Media houses present here, and our colleagues, that come to join us, and also, most importantly, faculty-based associations within the University of the Gambia. For the viewers across the country, my name is Nyaning Kamanjang, the President of the University of the Gambia Students' Union. First, I wanted to emphasize that a divided majority cannot move the agenda of the student union. A united minority is more fruitful and impactful than that of a divided majority. We have a shared common agenda, and our agenda is to propel the agenda of the students. That is why, as mandated by the Constitution, we put students' interests first. But what happened yesterday, I must take this opportunity for our brothers and sisters who may go through suffocations when it comes to the tear gas, that this is not our intention. We could have fight this battle together. But I believe if you entrust the leadership, you cannot give me the position and then take the law in your own hands. We are not asking you what you did is bad or good, but what we believe as a responsible government, that we need to engage into dialogue and make a progressive and a sustainable solution for every university student, irrespective of your gender, race, or where you belong to. So as the union president, since this dismissal occurred on the 15th of November, we are not relenting, we are relentless to ensure that we put a matter at hold, to ensure that the academic progress and the administrative services do not have to be jeopardized. And we have been engaging with stakeholders, both the university management and also the staff association in particular on this matter. As we speak, as the Information and Communication Minister alluded, that we are just from having a meeting today, and therefore we have passed a resolution, and I make it emphatically as the union president, that inasmuch as our position or our interest is threatened, then as the union president, mandated by the Constitution, where I took oath that I will not sit down and watch things unfolding the way it is. This is not what we hope for, what happened yesterday. A lot has been said on our personality. A lot of allegations were said on our personality as student leadership. But one thing that I must emphasize to you, the students that entrust us with your vote, that we cannot be peddled for any other self-aggrandizement by any party, either the staff association, the senior management of the University of the Gambia, or the government of this country, that we believe are the umbrella body for our welfare and interests. One thing that I must stress out for the students that went out yesterday, claiming the reinstatement of staffs within the University of the Gambia. For the records, we need to use the law as the alpha and the omega. The law is what guides us in any activity that we do. You are asking for reinstatement. Is that our mandate by the supreme law that governs the student body? The reinstatement of staffs is never within our mandate, and we must clear that to the students, that it is not within our mandate. And I will repeat, it is not within our mandate. When the boss crisis occurred here, the staff association or the senior management of the University of the Gambia never saw solidarity, because we believe that falls within our jurisdiction, because it directly affects the student body, and therefore we should take the bull by the horn to address the matter. When the issue of clearance persisted, none of the staff and faculty association saw even a solidarity to the student union. Why are we then showing solidarity of something that is not within our jurisdiction? then that question the union that we want to progress as an agenda. No matter the consequences, I was intimidated. I will not tell you all what has been transpired. Some are very confidential. But I went through a lot. But I remain persistent because I believe when it is tough, when I look around, the people that I should see are the students, not the staff association. They have a problem to deal with, and that problem is to look into the welfare of their staffs. And when it comes to the welfare of students, it is within our purview as mandated by the Constitution and also as the embodiment of the union to stand in solidarity with the students. Yesterday, I was compelled to even come on the attendance, but it will be detrimental and it will be suicidal as this signal that we are raising as the union. And we've passed resolutions, and the resolution is for the interests of both parties and for peace to reign for the university that we want. Because if we continue to fight, disrepute the image of the university, and it is the university that we all wanted to attain our degree, at the end of the day, you cannot burn your house that you are living in or within. That is obviously impossible. And we've seen non-university students trying to propel the matter of the issues by putting themselves before these students and aggravating their anger to make sure that they have a position. Let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, let us not allow external body to use us. We are not a puppet to the government of the Gambia. We are not a puppet to the Vice Chancellor. We are not a puppet to the UTG Staff Association. And that must be clear, that we have an independent body mandated by the Constitution. I do not want to speak much because every individual is taxed to speak on a matter. And a lot of things, thank God, we've passed resolutions and we've passed our demands that it is now even beyond the issue of, administrative and academic matters to resume as soon as possible. But other related matters that is affecting your schools has been addressed. And this is put before the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia and senior government officials. And we are not going to relent as far as I am your president. And I will take every blames, I will take every bullets when it is required. And therefore, it is important for us to agree on this. Thank you so much. We'll entertain questions later. When the deemed necessary.
Exactly. We will take questions and answers from the journalists, from the students. In fact, those of you who have been having concerns and those of you who've been asking questions on the social media on issues surrounding this whole saga, we will be more than glad to answer every single question that you have. And now I would call on the Secretary General of the University of the Gambia 22nd Executive Council, that is the Students' Union of the UTG, and he's Honorable Fode Msilla, and he is going to talk about the crux of the matter, exactly what caused this entire problem, what steps the union has taken from day one until today, and what resolutions have been met as per those matters that have been solved. Honorable Silla, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening to our viewers out there, members of the media, students of the University of the Gambia, and all the protocols duly observed here. As he rightly mentioned, I am Fode Msilla, and I'm here to give you a rundown of what has transpired since November 15, 2024. The University of the Gambia Students' Union is the premier body that is responsible for steering the affairs of students of the University of the Gambia. It's established by Higher Education and Tertiary Act of 2016, as well as the University Act 1999. And therefore, whatever matter that affects students of the University of the Gambia, it is incumbent upon the University of the Gambia Students' Union to ensure that the matters of these students are channeled to the right authorities or are being advocated. And the students of the University of the Gambia, as well as their leadership, have found themselves in a situation, in a pandemonium, wherein it has been difficult for us to decide what to do. Because when you have two entities that have both supply you with knowledge, skills, and abilities, and other services, it will be very difficult to deal with issues that are between them. So we've always emphasized that issues between the management and the Faculty Staff Association should not be used to victimize, to delay the academic progress and to disadvantage students of the University of the Gambia. This entire saga came as a result, or has come as a result, of the dismissal of 2 senior lecturers at the School of Business and Public Administration, where the union has a sub-association called ECOM with a leadership that is responsible for steering the affairs of those students in that particular school. When the news of this dismissal, when we got the news of this dismissal on the 15th of November 2024, we tried by all means to ensure that our students are not further affected by the adversities of this dismissal. And that was why on the 18th of November 2024, the leadership of ECOM wrote to the university management and copied the union plus other authorities to ensure that this dismissal did not cause more harm to the students of a School of Business and Public Administration, particularly those students that were benefiting from these 2 dismissed lecturers. The union, through the President and the Secretary General, also made comments on the email in which this letter was shared. And then there was a response from the former Director of Student Affairs and Alumni that the management of the University of the Gambia was also looking into this matter to ensure that these lecturers were replaced so that there could be continuity of academic activities for those students, those affected students. The following day, on the 19th of November, the union, through this secretariat, wrote to the management to ensure that these lecturers were replaced as soon as possible, because the letter from ECOM was not enough. So we decided to send a supportive letter to ensure that these matters were resolved, because it was very, very urgent and it needed immediate attention. That was done on the 19th of November 2024. On the 23rd of November, the leadership of ECOM they put forward a petition giving an ultimatum that, of course, this matter must be addressed. And if on such a date that this particular matter was not addressed, then the leadership of ECOM plus other entities within the University of the Gambia, including the union, would have to take other measures. Then on the 26th of November 2024, the leadership of ECOM released a dispatch calling for a protest. That was Tuesday, 26th of November 2024, because matters relating to the replacement of these lecturers were not put in place. On that same day, the union's president received a call from the office of the vice president that the president himself plus the president of ECOM were supposed to go to the office of the vice president in order to discuss issues relating to the reason for the protest. Then the matter was relayed to the union, and we discussed that those 2 people were not enough to represent the union and ECOM in this particular moment. So they were joined by the vice president, the education and research minister of the union, the secretary general of ECOM in order to represent the students of the University of the Gambia, particularly those from the School of Business and Public Administration. The discussion, several issues were discussed and resolutions were passed. The primary resolution that was passed was to meet the Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia on the 27th of November in order to ensure that discussions were held so that these lecturers could be replaced and students could continue to learn. Now, on the 27th of November, myself, I joined the delegation that went to the Vice President's office, to the Vice Chancellor, and then we discussed this issue. We had an in-depth discussion concerning this issue, and then we resolved that, of course, that we wrote to them, and then they did not reply, even though they believe or they said that they had already replaced these lecturers, but there was no communication that was done to the Students' Union as well as ECOM. So 4 resolutions were met in this particular gathering, and one was lecturer replacement, that Mr. Remy Colley and Ms. Job were supposed to replace the displaced lecturer, Dr. Matar Njai and Dr. Aliu Jiba, and that the dates, the times and the venues for these classes were to be maintained, because we also got complaints from other students that there was a particular lecturer, Mr. Remy Colley, who replaced one of the lecturers, wanted to move one of his classes from a Thursday to a Wednesday. So that was something that we discussed, and we resolved that that was never going to happen. All classes, the venues, times, and the dates of all classes were to be maintained. The second resolution was the plan assessment, because that in that particular moment, it was a transition from 2 lecturers to another 2 lecturers. So it would not be convenient for assessments to be held. So we also resolved that there wouldn't be any assessment held for these students unless and until there was an agreement between the lecturers concerned and the students concerned. 3, examination for affected courses, because exam was looming, and then we resolved that there wouldn't be any exam unless and until these affected students agreed with their lecturers concerned in order to have the exams held. The exam could be held later in January or any such time the students felt that it was necessary for them. The last one was students currently during their research projects, because these 2 lecturers, one was taking 3 courses, the other one was taking 2 courses, and there was students research project that was supervised by Dr. Maranjai, and they were 17. So we also discussed that and came into resolution that these research projects of these students, the students were to be identified, because the students are in 2 groups. There are others that have finished their studies and they are only waiting for their projects to be supervised and assessed. So we resolved that those students have to be identified, and those that are continuing also to be identified, so that they could be properly reassigned to the lecturers that are to supervise their work. So these 4 resolutions were met. So you can realize that the only resolution that was not fully met in that particular meeting was the issue of the research project of students being supervised, because Dr. Cisse, the outgoing dean of the School of Business and Public Administration, was tasked with the responsibility to ensure that he assessed the students who have graduated and those who have finished their studies and those that are yet to finish their studies, so that they could be properly reassigned to these students. So as of that meeting, every aspect of the replacement of these lecturers, was actually met, because that was actually the demand of the leadership of ECOM, that these lecturers were to be replaced so that our students could continue with their academic activities. Now, you can realize that from this particular moment, events also shifted, because from this particular meeting on the 28th of November, on the 27th of November, Wednesday, we had another meeting on the 28th of November 2024 on a Thursday at the office of the Vice President. In this particular meeting, the Student Union was present. The Faculty and Staff Association were also represented by the President and the SG, and then you also have government officials as well as the management of the University of the Gambia. The Vice Chancellor represented the management of the University of the Gambia. So in this particular meeting, we gave an update of what transpired between us and the Vice Chancellor in our meeting we had on the 27th of November. And we provided all these 4 resolutions. There was only one challenge, which was in relation to Mr. Remy's class. There was a class that was supposed to be held on that particular day by Mr. Remy Colley on a Thursday. However, Mr. Remy Colley was not able, or decided not to actually have that class held due to reasons best known to him. All right, we also discussed that, and it was resolved in that meeting that that was something that management was not aware of, and then they were going to ensure that that issue was resolved. All right, so you can realize that from this particular occasion, there was a paradigm shift from one aspect, which was the replacement of lecturers, to now the reinstatement of lecturers. Because from what we received from the leadership of ECOM was that the complaints of these students were that our lecturers must be replaced so that we could continue with our lectures. But now, since these resolutions were passed, a new campaign also emerged, which was that our lecturers must be reinstated. And as the President highlighted, that was something that's out of our domain. That's something that's out of our domain. Because as students, we do not know the scheme of service of the University of the Gambia. We do not know the documents that guide for the appointment, promotion, as well as the dismissal of these lecturers concerned. So what is our mandate is to ensure that the rights and welfare of our students are well protected. And that could only happen when there are replacements for these lecturers, so that our students can continue to benefit from their academic activities. So from this particular occasion, we also saw a dispatch circulating concerning the sit or the strike of the Faculty and Staff Association. As a responsible leadership, together with the sub-association, we made a release concerning this particular sit-down strike. Because when we had a meeting on Thursday, the 28th of November, at the office of the Vice President, we made sure that they understood that whatever action that resulted from this particular issue, we are going to ensure that we take the steps that are necessary in order to defend the rights and welfare of our students. So we made a release categorically mentioning that if the staff association happens to go for a strike on Monday, which was yesterday, we were also going to take our steps today, which was a press conference, and that is the occasion that we are having right now. All right? So from there, we saw a faction of students, okay, that were saying that they were going to go ahead with their strike, even their protest, even though the initial protest, the protest that was initiated by ECOM, they already waved it down, that there wasn't going to be any protest because the demands that were put forward were already met by the university management, which was the replacement of these lecturers concerned. All right, so that is the position that we have found ourselves. And of course, today, we also received an invitation from the Office of the Vice President, but that is something that I would not like to mention because there would be a speaker that will talk about the resolution that I made. And the good news is that things are resolved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable SG. So in brief, there were problems that we faced from the beginning after the lecture. The two lecturers were dismissed, as is mentioned, and what the students wanted was for those lecturers to be replaced. And those lecturers were replaced. The courses remain the same, the days remains the same, the venue remains the same. And all the challenges that students were facing at the inception have been solved. And the reason these students came up to protest was because they came up with new demands for the reinstatement of the lecturers, which is absolutely not within the category or the mandate of the students' union. In essence, this is what the Secretary General has mentioned. But I will also invite the Secretary General of ECOM, that is the faculty-based association where you have the affected students. Let's hear from them, because it is their students. They are dealing with their own students directly. Let's hear from them whether it's actually what SU have said is what actually happened. Honorable SG, please come on board.
Thank you very much, Honorable, and of course, respective protocols, and of course, sincere greetings to all of you that are present, the media fraternity, the Gambia, and of course, the world at large. These are trying moments, of course, that are bound to happen. When people live in a relationship, problems of this nature at some point are bound to emanate. However, how we handle it and how we deal with it are, of course, very important points that we need to look at as students of the University of the Gambia pursuing our different degrees, bachelor degrees in various programs. Now, I want to just shed a bit of light and reiterate the points that the SG of the Students' Union just mentioned. I would not go deep into that because he has already mentioned most of those things. That is to say, one, when the issue happened on the 15th of November 2024, when the dismissal notice or when the dismissal was passed or served, the student leadership of the School of Business and Public Administration was, notified about it. By the way, as the Secretary General, Mr. Ibrahim Abayo of the School of Business and Public Administration Students Leadership, we have to take the matter with a very careful approach. That is to say, one, the notice has been served, and we have also get the information, just like most of us here, outside there. There was no formal letter written to us, and of course, there was no notice to our management, the management at the School of Business and Public Administration, the dean down to the senior faculty staff. There was no communication. So I particularly, with the council, came up with the fact that, okay, we need to write to management about this particular matter. First, it was seeking clarifications, and of course, to verify whether or not this particular, message that we receive is actually factual or not. And we definitely wrote to them. That was on the 18th of November 2024. On the same day, on the 18th, the respective units of the University of the Gambia, from the senior management down to the student leadership of the entire body, were copied. The SU was copied, and of course, the Director of Students Affairs, the Office of the Vice Chancellor, the Dean of our school or our faculty, and all the necessary stakeholders. Responses were made to the emails, and of course, I may not go deep into that, but most of which I would emphasize were supportive statements from the union that the matter is crucial and management need to take an action. Now, on the 19th of November 2024, the student union, at their own executive level, being the umbrella body of the University of the Gambia students, sent another letter supporting the demands of the School of Business and Public Administration student leadership on behalf of their students. On the same vein, on the 23rd, an ultimatum was served since no action relevant has been taken. An ultimatum was served to the management indicating that if our demands and our requests are ignored and our emails are not responded, we would obviously go ahead on an industrial action, and that was a planned protest. So on the planned protest issue came up on the 26th from the domain of the council, and that was the official organized and created page by the council to embark on a protest. On the same date, an invitation was called to meet the office of the vice president. I put it as the republic because that is the senior, that is the government. The office of the vice president is the venue. However, it was the government because in the representation were members from various ministries: the Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, the National Security Advisor, and of course, other relevant stakeholders that has an issue or a stake in the matter concerned. So at this point, you could see that definitely there were engagements that were done by the student leadership of the faculty-based association, BPA, that is in connotation ECOM. At that particular meeting, the grounds were reached and resolutions were passed, among which include that the university management should immediately communicate, and not only should they communicate, but of course they should address the demands that were put forward. There should have been a replacement, and of course there should be the continuity of the academic progress as it stands. We have to understand one thing very clearly, like the president of the union mentioned, and I will reiterate it again, that in our mindset, we can have different views, but our mandate is very clear. We only come out and stand and fight and request, demand or support for causes that are on behalf and that rests just within the welfare of the students we represent who voted for the semester to complete or for the semester to come to an end. Unfortunately, the resolutions that were demanded were basically to address the matter and to see that academic services continue. The issue of appointment and dismissal rests and lies, I want to make it very clear, rests and lies completely as a decision of the management. And we as students have no say. We have no say in that particular matter. And that the president mentioned very clearly, I just have to reiterate the point. Now, the view diverged, or called a different direction, that the students went on to claim that we are requesting for the reinstatement of our dismissed lecturers. Even though when the issue happened, the executive created a page for the affected students, they are witnesses and they can testify, to consult them that what are your demands, put forward your demands. We have to put it very clearly, even though it could be part of the demands, but if it is not within our domain, we cannot push it. That has to be very clear. We can only push what falls within our domain, and that we must ensure that there is a shift or there is a progress in the academic services. Now I have to make something very clear at this stage. The University of the Gambia Student Union or the University of the Gambia Student General in general or in totality, the student fraternity is urged to understand the matter. This is not a matter of BPA as we speak. It is a matter of the University of the Gambia students as a whole. That is to say, there has been a complete shift in the nature of the situation. That is to say, lecturers, staffs, and of course, the faculty and staff association has gone on a strike or went on a strike as they threatened yesterday, effective. All of us are here and we can testify to that. That strike affects every single student of the University of the Gambia. And this is the shift of the course from the fight of the School of Business and Public Administration with the University of the Gambia Student Union to a fight of the entire University of the Gambia student fraternity. That stands for honesty, that stands for truth, that stands for justice. That stands to support and fight for the welfare of the people they serve. It is not in our interest to see what happened yesterday happened. It is definitely not in our interest,
and we sympathize with people that have been victimized in that particular cause as a council. We definitely sympathize with them, and of course that is why you could see that even when the matter happened, the president have to go and of course take steps to see how issues are going. Definitely, it is not our wish to see that happen. However, the divided opinions should not be a cause to divide us in our efforts and approaches. We are one united force. We are one united student body, and of course we are pushing one agenda. That is to see that what we claim and what we request, the welfare of our students, continue to happen. I may not go down deep into the other details with respect to what you may hear today. However, other speakers would talk about that. By the way, I want to make it very clear that ECOM, the University of the Gambia Student Leadership, Student Union, and ECOM, supportively from other associations, sub-associations, have stood their grounds to make sure that the threatened industrial action of the staff association did not even materialize. We have taken efforts to do that. In fact, one of the concerns that was put at the stakeholder meeting on the 27th and 28th at the office of the Vice President, with the Republic, I would call it, as I always mention, that one of the clear points was that the staff association must not go on this strike because it affects the academic progress of the University of the Gambia. We as stakeholders are the ones affected, and of course we need to view the matter in that nature. Let us stand together. Let us stand and support each other. Let us see that our interests are collective and are pushed forward as a unanimous agenda and decision of the University of the Gambia Student Union and of course the ECOM Student Leadership. On that note, I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you once more, Honorable SG of the Economics and Management Students Association, ECOM. And we are currently coming towards the end of this press conference. So I will have the president of ECOM to give you something very important. That is the reason why ECOM initially opted for the replacement of lecturers instead of the reinstatement of lecturers. The lecturers who were fired, why did ECOM choose for those lecturers to be replaced instead of those lecturers being reinstated? You understand? And that is the same reason that the SU stood by. We agreed with them, and then we fought for that, and that was done. So in brief, Mr. President, could you please say that, and then we can have the Vice President of the Union to talk about how the entire matter has been resolved. Thank you. And the demands of the Union specifically.
Greeting everyone. I am Ibrahim Asanyang, the President of ECOM. I will just go straight. And again, I want you to listen, not by emotion, but you listen carefully and interpret issues. Yes, we all know this problem really affects everybody. It is not only ECOM, but the whole University of the Gambia. This problem affected. Concerning about this issue, just to summarize it, what we did is, first we engaged the class reps. In engaging those class reps, what we did is we create a WhatsApp group where we have all these class reps so that we can hear from them what they really want. One thing that I want to make it clear here is to have these lecturers back as far as the issue is at court is going to be a process. Some of the students, this is their last semester. Others are expecting to travel. Others are expecting to go for masters. If we are to wait until these lecturers are back, it's not going to be 1 week. It is not going to be 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So which means the academic is going to be prolonged. So for that being the case, we make a wise decision so that we can have a replacement. That was our first step, so that we can make a replacement for these people. As far as the academic is concerned, we don't want students' academic to be tampered. As we always said in our campaign, we said students' interest first. That's why we have this in replacement. It doesn't mean that we don't want our lecturers back. They are our lecturers. But this situation is beyond us. What we can do as ECOM is, the best thing is the replacement. That's why we go in for this. We can have everybody on one board. We can have our exam on time. Just to make to summarize this, concerning about yesterday's protests, we are leaders. We have the responsibilities. We engaged the leaders of this protest yesterday. In fact, it was on Saturday night. I engaged them. I called them individually. But whenever I speak to these people, they all agree to me. Yes, what you are saying is true. I told them, this is not a group fight. This is a collective fight. Let us come together and fight for this. But we cannot have small group here, a group here, a group here. It doesn't help. Our problem will not be solved. In order for this problem to solve, we have to come together as leaders. But how do we do this? I engaged them. I told them that let us hold on Monday's protest. We call on a congress where we are going to have all the students of our school so that we can decide on what to do. What is going to be the next step? At first, they all agree. But at the 11 hours, they said they are going with the protest. Yesterday morning, I was here just to see how to call the situation or whatsoever. As leaders, we have responsibilities. And as followers also, we have responsibilities. We have to try and find out what really is the cause of this issue. These are some of the things that we're supposed to go on. I know there are so many other students who are following, but they don't really know what is going on. This is why today we are here, to make things clear. Let the students understand the situation that we are. This is supposed to be a collective fight. It is not an individual fight. But we can only win this battle when we come together. So for that being the case, just like as I said, I'm just going to summarize it. I will just stop here. Thank you so much for your time.
It's beyond the protest that had happened yesterday, because the protest was only limited to the reinstatement of the lecturers. And of course, we had protesters making some other demands that I wouldn't want to go into. That's not relevant as of now. But the problem has gone beyond ECOM, as the Secretary General had mentioned. It is now a thing that affects the entire university fraternity, and that is the sit-down strike of the Faculty and Staff Association. And now a resolution has been met. And what is that resolution? To say the problem has been solved. Let's hear from the Vice President what resolution has been met as far as this problem is concerned. And afterwards, we will take questions and answers from all you journalists, and also questions from the students. Any concerns, any questions that you have as far as this issue is concerned, we will try to address them as much as possible. Honorable Vice President, thank you.
Media House is present, leaders of various sub-associations, my respectful colleagues from the University of the Gambia Students' Union, fellow students of the University of the Gambia, and all other ladies and gentlemen present. For the records, I am Yunus Ambai, the Vice President, at the same time the Senator for the University of the Gambia Students' Union. In my capacity as one of the speakers in this momentous press conference, I have two things to give you out. One thing is the resolutions that have been agreed at the State House. Like the previous speakers mentioned, Honorable mentioned, our Secretary General gave a highlight about what meetings we have conducted. Today, we were fortunate to be invited at the highest office of the Gambia, which is the State House. We were invited at the office of the Vice President to discuss on our matters and way forward. And those way forwards came forward in the form of resolutions. Resolutions are agreements that we made at the end of a meeting. And key among the resolutions that we made are as follows. But before we continue talking, I would like to tell you that these resolutions are only one thing that took, one of the resolutions is the thing that took us there, which is regarding the lecturers resuming courses, resuming lectures and academic matters, admission matters to continue by tomorrow. And this is part of our resolutions that we have been agreed there. Unfortunately, it has been agreed that tomorrow, University of the Gambia staff will begin their lectures back, provided not that whether they are successful or not successful in the process that they demanded from the government, which is to review the dismissal process that was enhanced. We have also agreed, likewise the President, myself, the President of ECOM, and the Secretary General of ECOM, and the Education Minister of ECOM. We've pushed them so far that we are not going to agree to any change that they will make, whether the review potentially shows that there is a breach of what we call normalcy in the process in which they were being dismissed. What I'm trying to say simply is that if they were dismissed on a righteous manner, it will not change the fact that they will continue working. If the review realized that the process was illegal and is lack of merit, they will not still change. They will continue their lectures. This is one of the resolutions that we have at the State House today. And then moving forward, we've made it very clear to the Vice President, to the Minister of Justice and to the Minister of Higher Education, alongside other ministers and important government stakeholders within that meeting. Alongside those staff members who were there representing the staff association, we made it clear to them that a press conference is going to be called, and that demand is one of the demands that we have for this press conference. We have about 10 demands. The first demand that we have here is lecturers must resume their lectures, that is tomorrow. They will resume their lectures, admission will continue, those who come for a transcript will get their transcript, all other matters or activities within the University of the Gambia will continue. The second demand, that is demand number 2, no assessment for students who are victims of those lecturers who have been dismissed. This means that Dr. Njai and Dr. Jiba's class, who have been replaced by the 2 lecturers, will not, shall not, and must not repeat any assessment, test, or examination that is to be taken. They will continue, and the marks that they were given will be maintained. And this is a resolution that was agreed at the State House as far as our stakeholders are concerned. Demand number 3, grades of students. We are demanding that the problem, as far as we are concerned, is not only about the problem of BPA. Many students who were here yesterday, unlawfully making a group, demanded certain matters, which are sacrosanct to our demands, but they are not the legal entity to come. So that's why, as a legal entity, voted by the majority of the students of the University of the Gambia, through constitutional means, we believe that there are a lot of issues that we should demand for, which led us to demand number 3, grades of students. We have about 500 grades for School of Arts and Science missing, about 275 grades for BPA missing, about 30-something grades for journalism missing, about 40-something in EDUSA missing, about many other grades pending. When I say missing, they are either pending, missing, or grades that do not reach their portals. So we are also saying that those grades will be back to the portals of students before we resume exams. And the exam is on the 9th. Before on the 9th, those grades will be back in the portals of students. If that is not done, we are going to our next step. And we are moving to that. Demand number 4 is on the transportation. On the 11th of September, the council, through the technical and logistic minister, the welfare minister, the finance minister, the deputy IPRO, the president, myself as the vice president, and the finance minister himself, we went to the office of the Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, and made clear to him that students of Banjul and students from Combo South are students of the University of the Gambia. Like those in Carnifing, like those in Brikama are enjoying the bus services. They deserve to enjoy the bus services like them. And we were told it was not possible. But fortunately today, as to our demand, the matter is going to be taken seriously. And what I can tell you is that the Vice President has agreed to this demand, and it is going to be taken from the office of the Vice President to make sure that people from Banjul, people from Combo South are given buses for easy transportation as a right, not a privilege. Demand number 5, fellow students. We all know that those who go to Faraba are encountered by one of the most basic things, as Maslow stipulated in his theory. We know that food is very important for our lives. We made it clear that market vendors in Faraba are limited, and students do not buy into that. We do not say the food they serve doesn't have quality, but here we also demand for quantity. And as far as the quality is concerned, the prices for those for the cost of food is very expensive for students. Either allow to liberalize the market in Faraba, that is allow students, allow other vendors to be part of the market system in order to allow every student to have access to food and water in Faraba. We've known that there are only 2 registered vendors in Faraba. That is one company from Nero and an individual entrepreneur in the School of Education. We demand that there will be more people to be selling in the markets as far as Faraba is concerned, to allow students have sustainable food and water in the University of the Gambia. Demand number 6, early clearance. We also made it clear, and we reference what had happened during the beginning of the semester, whereby most beneficiaries, as far as scholarship is concerned, were deprived of registering their courses at the right time. We have demanded that that thing has to be stopped, and we have put it to the minister. That is his responsibility. And as for the records, the Vice President, the Minister of Justice, put it directly in front of the minister and all of us, the stakeholders, that it is a responsibility that the University of the Gambia, if any document that is being signed by the Minister of Higher Education, the University of the Gambia management is entitled to honor and endorse that document. This simply means that if you are a beneficiary from MOHAS, University of the Gambia has no right to say that we will not clear you. you will be automatically clear, which is a mandate, because University of the Gambia is directly under the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. Demand number 7. Demand number 7 is faculty officers. We all know that the problem we are facing about grades issues is not only geared towards the lecturers, it's not only geared towards the students. The main issue is as a result of the previous issues that had been happening in Faraba, where the then registrar chose to limit access to the portals as far as faculty officers are concerned. We are saying no to that. From effective today, faculty officers from all these 10 or 11 schools in the University of the Gambia will have access to the portal, where what was happening will continue to happen. Whereby students, we will be able to have access to the portal through our faculty officers. If you have a problem with your grade, your Mariama, your Madam Jenaba, your Emmanuel, or your faculty officer, whichever school you are, will be able to have access and then do the needful, so that we will not have pending and missing grades, doing very bad reaction to the students. We have a lot of students who have graduated and are still languishing in the university because they have pending grades and missing grades. This demand was being identified and respected by all stakeholders within the meeting at the State House today. The next demand, which is demand number 8, we demand that the health and safety of the students must be guaranteed. And this demand is made in consolidation with the responsibilities of the Gender and Health Minister. We all know what the minister has been doing. I mean the Gender and Health Minister of the Students' Union. We demand that the sick bay, the babysitter center, the ambulance production, and there will be what we call a standby nurse that will attend to any individual who feels sick or has injuries that demand attention or medical attention. This demand is made clear and referenced by the Minister of Higher Education, that he had already made communications to the Minister of Health that this demand will be met in no sooner time than now. And again, demand number 9, the last but not the least, which includes internet connection. We believe University of the Gambia relies on the portal system. We believe many of our issues are done in the internet or through online. We demand that internet services will be provided, and these things will be done in due consideration to the needs, aspirations of the students. Therefore, in summary, ladies and gentlemen, fellow students of the same fraternity, I hereby stand by you with my president alongside the 22nd SJD Council and the Council of ECOM and all responsible students here to know that these demands that you have been put across to the Vice President's office today are all being recognized and honored. On that purpose, our intentions and purposes are that these demands reflect our activities that we have been doing as student leaders, and we retreat that united we stand, divided we fall. And as the president said, a united minority is always stronger than a divided majority. On that note, I thank you all very much. Aluta continua.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Vice President. I believe that was very clear. And in order for us to go to the next session, presumably the most interesting part of this press conference, I just want to make one very strong clarification that the SG said he partly missed. And that has to deal with those 2 lecturers who've been dismissed, why they opted for replacement instead of reinstatement. And that has to deal, 1, those 2 lecturers have sued the governing council to court. Those 2 lecturers have sued the governing council to court for unlawful dismissal. Now, the governing council, the UTG management, and the Faculty Staff Association were to discuss their possible reinstatement. But as far as the matter is in court, you cannot discuss it. That is by law. It will be contempt of law. You understand? If a case is at court, you cannot make a verdict or a judgment on it until the court decides otherwise. So one of the conditions put forward as per the negotiation for the reinstatement of this lecturer is for the withdrawal of these cases from court. If that is done, then it would have been easier, perhaps reinstatement. But that's not discussed.